Coming up on First at 5, the rescue and recovery efforts from what's described as a 100-year flood still unfolding, with more help heading to Texas as the death toll continues to rise.
Plus, as summer rolls on, afternoon thunderstorms and extreme heat are rolling in. What to expect and how experts say you can stay safe.
And President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill becomes law. What it could mean for the millions of Americans facing cuts to their insurance and meals. First at 5 starts now.
First at 5, from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Rescue teams continuing their search for survivors after flash flooding in Texas over the weekend as the death toll continues to mount. Welcome to First at 5. I'm Ciara Carle.
And I'm Radaysha Robinson. At least 94 fatalities have been confirmed, and with dozens still missing, officials say the number is expected to rise. Maribel Gonzalez has the latest from the devastating community.
Waterways in some of the most devastated parts of central Texas rising again Monday as more rain falls in the area. The elements hampering ongoing search and rescue efforts.
They're running into a lot of technical challenges with terrain, with water.
The Kerr County Sheriff's Office says over 400 local, state, and national first responders and more than a dozen canine units are helping in the search and rescue efforts. Here, the dramatic rescue after two people clung to a tree to save their lives. Others in the state, including children, were forced to swim to safety.
The flood started getting bigger, and it was going up to, we have bunk beds in our cabins, and it was going up to the top bunk, and we had one choice, and we had to swim out of our cabins.
I said a prayer when I was standing on my porch. Both my parents are deceased, and I said, Mom, Dad, God, help.
The death toll continues to rise, including 27 campers and counselors from Camp Mystic along the Guadalupe River.
I've lost near friends, best friends, my boss, my godchildren.
The Hill Country community now questioning if anything could have been done to prevent this tragedy.
Everyone here, if we could have warned them, we would have done so. And we didn't even have a warning.
While survivors come together in their grief.
The outpour of people near, far, it's been incredible.
Florida now sending rescue crews to Texas to aid the recovery efforts. Governor Ron DeSantis saying on X that he's instructed state emergency officials to send 3 swiftwater rescue teams to the affected area and will lend more help if it is requested.
As the governor sends help to Texas, let's take a look at what to expect this week here in North Central Florida. UF forecaster Aiden Wacksman is live in the weather studio with what he says is a very hot week ahead.
Now, normally around this time we are tracking afternoon thunderstorms, but not today. Those have moved well off the coast right now, off of 95 into the Atlantic, staying pretty clear overall for most of us, so a nice change. Instead, we are worrying about those warmer temperatures. You can see outside right now it's about 92 degrees, about typical for this time of year, but feels actually much warmer out there. You can see some of those clouds trying to rise up a little bit, but almost like an atmospheric lid kind of capping these clouds from rising and preventing those showers and thunderstorms from developing. For the rest of the evening, looking pretty nice out there. Those rain chances pretty much zero for the rest of the night, staying into the mid-70s into the early morning hours tomorrow. Coming up, I'll let you know just how hot you can expect it to get this week.
Firefighters in Citrus County responded to a major structure fire in the Beverly Hills this July 4th, rescuing pets and containing the 2-story blaze. When first responders arrived, the flames had already engulfed 75% of the home. A resident informed the firefighters that all occupants had gotten out. However, several pets remained trapped. As more help arrived, the responders were able to save 2 cats and 1 dog. But unfortunately, 1 dog and 2 birds were killed in the fire. Fire crews say a lightning strike caused electrical failure in the garage, and that sparked the flames.
Another Independence Day fire. A 911 caller reported a mobile home with visible flames, and next to the structure, 12 dogs trapped in kennels. First responders used multiple hose lines to fight the fire. They were able to save all 12 dogs without any reported injuries. The cause and origin of the fire is still under investigation. New at 5, an Alachua County woman is facing child abuse charges after deputies say she caused multiple fractures on a 4-month-old baby. They were called to the hospital over the weekend where the baby was being treated. The report says detectives interviewed 20-year-old Anissa Graham and other people close to the pair. Investigators felt that they had enough information to determine the child was physically abused and put Graham under arrest.
The Florida Department of Education just released its grades for Alachua County's public schools. The grades are based on a variety of factors, including statewide assessment performance, graduation rates, and participation in advanced courses. Alachua County received its third straight B grade and was just 2 percentage points from an A. 22 of the district's traditional schools were given an A or B rating, up from 19 last year. None of the district's traditional schools received a failing grade in 2025. Alachua and Rawlings Elementary both raised their grades from a D to a C, removing them from school improvement or SI status. 3 schools, Foster, Shell, and Williams Elementary, received D grades, designating them as SI schools.
When First at 5 returns, we take a look at how President Trump's newly passed budget will affect the Sunshine State.
The service is being cut, why officials say millions of Floridians may soon be without health care. We'll be right back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
President Trump's controversial spending bill has officially passed after much debate in both chambers of Congress. The House of Representatives narrowly passed the massive spending and tax cuts bill that the White House has been pushing for months. And on Independence Day, the president officially signed it into law.
The motion is adopted.
The final House vote coming one day before a Trump-imposed July 4th deadline and hours after the bill appeared to be in trouble, with hardline fiscal conservatives and other Republicans threatening to vote no. But ultimately, the bill passed with no changes.
A lot of members genuinely needed time to digest what the Senate sent over.
House leaders credit the president with convincing holdouts to get in line.
He was, directly engaged. He was available. If anybody had a question, they could go straight to him.
With little power to stop it, House Democrats slammed the so-called Big Beautiful Bill during floor debate.
My House Republican colleagues, have you no shame?
And delayed the vote by hours.
House Democrats are going to stand up.
8.5 hours, to be clear, because Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries set a new record for the longest floor speech in history. Democrats in the minority could not stop the bill from passing, but Jeffries says the fight is not over.
That no matter what the outcome is on this singular day, we're going to press on. We're going to press on.
The bill makes permanent the 2017 Trump tax cuts, slashes funding for Medicaid and food aid programs. It increases funding for border security and the military. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add more than $3 trillion to the national debt and will strip health care coverage from more than 11 million people. Republicans dismiss those projections.
Unleashing a rising tide of prosperity, securing our border, modernizing our national defense, and supercharging energy, agriculture, all the sectors of our economy.
That was Julie Sirkin reporting. Of all 50 states, officials say Florida will be the most affected by the bill's health care cuts. The Congressional Budget Office projects that the bill will leave nearly 2 million Floridians without health care by 2034 due to new Medicaid rules and cuts to Affordable Care Act subsides.
Camp Landing in Clay County will soon be home to a new ICE detention center. State officials say construction could begin as early as this week. This coming just days after the opening of the controversial alligator Alcatraz in the Florida Everglades. Governor Ron DeSantis says the detention center would be easier to get up and running than alligator Alcatraz, as pre-existing facilities can be repurposed. However, several areas that do not meet federal standards would need improvements, such as dining facilities. Several temporary structures need to be constructed as well, including showers and bathrooms. Representative Judson Sapp, whose district includes Camp Landing, says it's his goal to keep his constituents aware of what's happening and minimize any impacts to the surrounding community.
The long-term goal here is a good one for the United States, and that's what we have to keep in mind as we do this, despite some of the things that we might not like about it.
Construction beginning as early as today, Sapp says his constituents are generally supportive of the president's immigration policy.
Coming up next, temperatures pretty hot out there, getting around 100 degrees on the heat index. I'll have more on the heat expectations for this week coming up.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Summer heat is in full blaze, and enjoying the rays could make you a target for heated-related illnesses. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, more than 1,300 people in the U.S. die from extreme heat each year. University of Florida professor of physiology and kinesiology, Thomas Clanton, says exhaustion is an early sign of heat illness.
It starts affecting your central nervous system. And the problem is you begin to lose judgment as to what's happening to you. You just know you're tired. You don't really worry about it.
If you are in a heat-related experience and you may feel dizziness, nausea, or extreme thirstiness, experts suggest seeking medical attention.
And you know what, speaking of heat stroke, the rain may have let up for this week, but the sun certainly did not.
Yeah, and Aiden, it's been up in the 90s lately, so can you tell me if it's going to be cooler anytime soon?
Yeah, the temperatures have been in the 90s, but the feel-like temperatures are really where it's felt really, really hot out there. Let's take a look at some of the current temperatures in our area right now. Staying at about 91 degrees at the airport here in Gainesville, staying in those low 90s and high 80s, but the humidity is really what's making things feel so hot out there. Those feel-like temperatures at 98 degrees here at the airport. Jacksonville up to 100 degrees, and we've been near 100 degrees for the past day or so. That trend should continue for the next week in terms of those feel-like temperatures. Now, looking to the rest of the country, you can see the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal now making its way through the northeast, causing some rains in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. But if we take a closer look at this, you can actually see that it is quickly weakening before this moves along the northeast. Again, this is just the remnants of Chantal, but still causing some pretty high rain totals around that area. Another area of the country experiencing high rain totals is that Texas area that received so much of that rain earlier this week, now getting a little bit more rain, unfortunately. That's starting to clear out around this time, but unfortunately, again, that area is still getting more rain on top of what it's already received. Closer to home here in the north central Florida area, low temperatures tonight staying in the low 70s, so about average for this time of year, nothing too unusual, but it should feel pretty humid and pretty muggy out there because of the westerly winds bringing in some moisture from the Gulf. That's really causing things to feel so humid. Tuesday, high temperatures, 93 in Gainesville, staying in those around the mid-90s actually tomorrow. Tuesday and Wednesday this week is really when we get to see things start to heat up a lot, and even in Marion County too, you can see again those low 90s. So Tuesday, Wednesday, good idea to make sure you are aware of those threats for heat illness, staying aware for that dizziness or nausea, any of those feelings that come with that specifically. And the future cast, you can see in those high 90s again, so we're just going to continue with that trend the rest of the week, staying really, really hot out there. The rain should clear out for the rest of the night. Tonight shouldn't be any chances for rain the rest of the evening, but tomorrow is when we get to see those rain chances start to pick up again, maybe a little bit along Dixie and Levy County. Before that, again, those rain chances pick up specifically in our area in the afternoon. Could see some storms pop up along 95 in the evening as well before those again clear out. Afternoon thunderstorms, typical trend we usually see for this time of year over the summer. Looking ahead to the rest of the week, staying in those mid-90s, very, very humid, and rain chances staying pretty high even into the late parts of the week. I'll have one final look at the weather coming up.
Coming up in sports, the BAR was the protagonist in last night's Gold Cup finals. Also, do you know that the cost of youth sport has been risen faster than inflation? What does that mean for local families? I will tell you more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Luis Rodriguez Combe. For many families, in youth sports is more than a game. Apart from the love, it comes with constant financial responsibility. At a basketball tournament in Gainesville, I spoke to families about the cost of youth sports and how it has evolved through the years. He comes off the screen, dribbles, fires, and scores. Money. That's one of the biggest challenges some parents face with youth sports, funding.
You make a lot of sacrifices to make sure, they're living out their dream. If that's, something that they desire, I'm supporting it 100%.
Teens took their dreams to the hardwood for 2 weeks at the 2025 Florida Association of Basketball Coaches Boys Showcase. The trip, processing memories, but potentially taxing on the wallet.
Sometimes depending on where they're going, where they're at, flight, hotel, car rental, so I would say travel to be there to support your child.
According to Project Play, an independent organization funded by the Aspen Institute, The average cost of youth sports ranges over $1,000 and can grow into 5 figures. The major sports that generally cost more money are soccer, basketball, baseball, and tackle football. Assistant coach Mikhail Noble experienced youth sports firsthand as an athlete. He saved to pay his way.
Meaning they set me up for summer jobs, day jobs, etc.
He believes the increase of parental involvement and the introduction of name, image, and likeness at the youth level are beneficial.
Now, based off what I'm seeing, the parents are far more involved, extremely involved now. I think obviously high school kids get NIL money now, so that's somewhat contributing to some of those costs.
Even with help, this parent has advice.
It's changed a lot from when my oldest played to now, so just have patience.
For these parents, the overall win and satisfaction is knowing their child is developing character and discipline en route to achieve their dreams. More than 4,000 parents and guardians were involved in this study. Researchers said there were participants from all 50 states. The polar bear is heading to Atlanta. Former Gator great Pete Alonso was selected to the All-Star game for the 5th time in 7 years. Alonso has been the Mets' most consistent hitter this season with 20 home runs and 73 RBIs. And that's all for sports. Aiden will have a final look at weather coming up after the break.
We have a dry pocket of air preventing thunderstorms today, but not so much the case for the rest of the week. Should see some of those storms popping up all the way into your weekend. And temperatures staying very, very warm, especially Tuesday and Wednesday. Good idea to have water. And again, watch for any signs of heat illness.
Thanks, Aiden. And thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all our social media platforms. Have a good night.